Why is the jury laughing?
Zero chance of winning the game.
Supposed to talk glamour to you.
My grandmother's sitting home watching Jerry Springer.
Lee, is there any way I could have your jacket?
Welcome back to Survivor Breakfast, another exciting episode. We're talking about season 42, episode 4, I believe. I am Tim. I am joined as always by Kale and Toast here. Guys, let's just hop right into this episode. I think the first thing we want to really get into here is the tribal fallout from last week. We start the episode off looking at the Vati tribe, and we're seeing kind of the fallout for Daniel here and how he goes about handling it. I want to throw it to you guys and kind of see, like, if you're Daniel in this scenario, how are you handling this? Toast, what are your thoughts?
I just want to say before we start, Kale, don't tell Simi this, but you're my number one, okay? And Simi, don't tell Kale, okay? But you're my number one.
Hey,
that's all I gotta
Kale,
say.
Kale, really quick, I got an aside for you. Toast told me he was, or I'm his number one.
Wait. Toast has been saying what?
All right, we'll get into Eco later. Let's get back into this Vati tribe.
Sorry, I was in my own head. Keep going.
No, but it's a perfect example of the deteriorating gameplay that she exemplified out there. But anyways, with Vati, I'll talk on it first. I was talking about this last week. I think Daniel, I don't know what it is about him, because I do think he's a smart guy, but he's going about, the social aspect of this game completely wrong.
Yeah.
You come back to camp and you say, I don't want to talk about it right now, when you're purely the focal point of what everybody wants to talk about, and Chanel wants to cut your head off. So you think you're going to skate by that night with Chanel not saying a word?
Yeah, everyone's just going to be like, yeah, sure.
And Mike couldn't be more pissed too, because he shared everything that he did share with him. So, Daniel, I don't know, man. That was questionable at best to be approaching it that way on returning home from camp. I get how exhausting it was. It was a very, very great episode, as we all saw. But I don't know.
Dude, I think it's just so clear that he's a terrible improviser. He needs to plan. If he doesn't have a plan in place, he freezes. I don't want to talk about it tonight. I need to think about it.
Well, I think his like little monologue when he gets back, after Tribal, it very much parallels his behavior at Tribal, in the sense that he was the first person that spoke and he lost, right? So when it comes to deciding whether or not he wants to draw rocks, right? He says first, I don't want to draw rocks. He loses the interaction. He comes back from Tribal. He's the first person to talk in camp. He's like, hey, I don't want to talk about this. Well, listen, you're the only one talking, actually. You're drawing attention to it. And I would argue it's parallel, because Daniel was the one who talked, and I think Chanel was the one who won the interaction there, right? Because Chanel was able to just hang out, listen to Daniel sort of implode, and Daniel needs to learn from this. He needs to let other people sort of make that first mistake. He can't be the first person to be like, hey, I want to make this mistake right now. Let someone else make the mistake, and then you answer after.
Yeah,
right?
I think he struggles with the thought behind the sentiment that you're talking about right there. He just can't. He needs to get out ahead of what he perceives to be the issue,
and then causes it.
Yeah, it's so funny, because Romeo actually brings this point up, and it's so true in this game. And if you want to talk about Stock Report, I actually liked Romeo's episode tonight, but we'll get into that later. In this game, you need to keep your cool. It's so true. You have to be even keel for, if anything, you need to be even keel for majority of the first half of the game, and you can start to meander a little bit towards the end when you have a firm alliance that you can solidly trust. / that you're leading those people in the right direction, but you need to be so even keeled. Daniel's just he's all over the place, and we'll talk about other players and how I feel like they're doing it, and I think Hai has a little bit of an element that he was still able to keep it even keel, but Daniel is just perfect example of that he wasn't. And I just, to your point, talking about Chanel, I do think Chanel won out in this argument, and she always could default to the fact that she wasn't voting, so she really never had to purely show her card. And Daniel just talked himself and dug himself a grave. But Chanel, even in talking in her confessional about the plan to get out Lydia, was absolutely her grandiose idea. And again, I think it's a little bit of false confidence that could end up biting her in the ass. To be
She
honest.
wants to have her cake and eat it too. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like
it's a little much.
she doesn't want to get any of the blame, but then she's also going to claim all the credit. And it's like, I feel like it's for us, the viewer, but I feel like we can kind of suss out that, like, I get that, like, in this scenario, she got off relatively scot-free, but, like, I also don't think that, like, she can just claim it as her move. Like, the same argument that you didn't vote is the argument that it wasn't your move,
Well, I think she definitely can't claim it as her move. It didn't even. I mean, she could. It was a bad. Like, it didn't work. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that
she
too.
messed up
Yeah,
the
exactly.
move, so it's a
Exactly.
moot. Well, I want to know from you guys though, like, if you're Daniel right now. So I mean, Toast, you mentioned a little bit, like, silence would have been better than him saying I don't want to talk.
Oh, for sure.
No doubt that's the best gameplay.
You think best gameplay, just come back and just don't say a word, and if someone confronts you, then have the conversation.
Yeah, he already dug a massive hole at Tribal, so he was going to have
huge.
to answer for at least something. So complete silence wasn't going to fly, but honestly, it would have been entertaining if he just didn't say anything.
Yeah.
They're like pried at him.
Yeah, they take so long, like, when they're transported from Tribal to camp, right? Like, they're in complete silence. They can't speak. So I just picture him in his own head this entire time, like, dying in this silence, and he just has to break the silence when he gets there. When in reality, it's like, that whole area, you couldn't have talked anyway, right? So it's like everyone's in that space of silence, I feel like he's uncomfortable with that, but...
Those moments post-Tribal are extremely emotional, and obviously we've never been in the midst of it, but I feel like we can put ourselves in the place that it's extremely emotional, especially for someone that may have gone home, especially for someone like Hai who felt he got completely blindsided, especially for someone like Mike who thought he had a tight ally, and it's just completely different because he's off the walls.
Yeah.
So...
Well, I think
You're
Mike might
never
have found a
gonna
tight
win.
ally, honestly.
What'd you say?
I said I think Mike might have found a tight ally. I saw him
Well,
hugging High multiple times, right?
All right, well, I got
We'll
a
get
couple points
there.
about this. But here's what's the one thing I said in the pregame podcast about Vati. What did I say was going to win out with this tribe?
The person who aligns with Mike.
Yeah.
Yes. At the end of the day, the one who wins out with Mike. Mike started with Jenny. Jenny's gone. Mike was with Daniel. Daniel's now a fish.
I mean, sure, Kale, but let's be clear. The person who aligned with Mike got voted out.
No,
Yeah,
I said at the end, whoever got with Mike at the end. That was my whole point. So
All right.
we'll continue about a point on this matter later, but yeah, Daniel just not a great job here.
Yeah, not great for Daniel. All right, well let's keep moving. Let's talk about this reward challenge. Kale, I know you've got a little thing you want to talk about here, so I'll throw it to you. What were your thoughts on this reward challenge?
I just want to ask, and again, it's another Taku demolition, but I want to ask, and obviously they did this last season because they had to do the talking prior to Tribal to see if people had any immunity idols, but I don't know. Is it just me, or do they ever show talking post Tribal? Jeff did it last week, making a comment about Jonathan, and then they did this week. I actually did not appreciate that this was allowed. To be honest with you, does this always happen? A debrief post Tribal?
Just clarify. For
I mean,
me.
post challenge. I'm sorry.
So you're talking after a reward challenge like this Matt chat that you're talking about, right?
That I feel like I've never seen before.
I get what you're saying. Usually they do it beforehand. At least that's
do
what
they
we see.
even do it beforehand on usually?
Yeah, they do. They do for a long time. They have. I think they do a lot of Matt chat. I think in this case it was just sort of a way to segue into Jonathan's montage, if that makes sense. Because they were like bringing up Jonathan, how he's a big threat. Like it also played into how Marianne was annoyed at him, and then like it also showed Jonathan being like, my role is to be a provider. Like I want them to use me for what I am. Like I feel like it was just sort of a clever way to introduce his montage in the way that made sense narratively. I don't know.
If that's fine from an editing standpoint, I'm talking about the fact that this was allowed. I guess if it's allowed all the time, that's on me. But this open
You're
forum,
saying gameplay, yeah.
This
like
open
Tori
forum,
putting a target on him.
I think that's ridiculous. I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. It was a comment that squarely comes. It's blindside punch to his face. They don't even know each other's name. He goes the blonde girl from over on the blue tribe that Toast knows very well, but clearly he doesn't. I don't know. I didn't appreciate that open forum segment. I feel like I just have missed this in all of my Survivor watching history. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
it caught me off guard.
Look, it's not great. I guess it's. I mean, I don't know if it's good or not. I mean, I think it could introduce some interesting kind of gameplay mechanics if that becomes a regular thing. But let's be clear, everybody knows that
That's what I was
Jonathan.
gonna say,
Like,
too.
it's not like
Yeah.
she said anything that was like, wait, what? Like, everybody knows that. Like,
All right,
Yeah,
that's fair.
it's a low-hanging fruit.
I just
Yeah.
think if keep it in its pure form, let these tribes act independently, and then have the subtle journeys be the little semi, inter tribe, intra tribe.
Yeah, well, Kale. Also, let's also just like empathize with these other tribes for a second. Like, they're frustrated. They're like, he's bringing, like, we're competing as a tribe. He's competing as an individual unit, and he's putting his entire tribe on his back. It's luck of the draw that any individual wasn't on his tribe. They're
I
just
understand
pissed.
that, but
That's
that's what we talked about last week. That's what we talked about last week.
well, I think we're just gonna have to see if this continues, and we can talk about what the kind of ramifications are for the game. If that comes, but it remains to be seen. Now, we had a lot of Ika strategy and a lot of hanging out with Ika in the second half of this episode. Before we get to that, though,
A tribe we didn't even see at all last week.
exactly.
So I was
And-
excited. I was excited entering into Ika camp.
Definitely. But before we get into that, I want to really quickly talk about this immunity challenge because, Kale, I know you've got another point that you want to talk
Well,
about.
the only
here
other
in
thing
the-
is that we'll tie it back to the
Kale,
Vati
get it all out.
conversation.
All right, just get it all out.
Tie it back to the Vati conversation before. Some very interesting camera angles having to show Hai and Mike just hugging it out.
I love that.
Having these massive hugs, saying "We did it, we did."
I love you, bro. He's like,
Yeah.
I love you, bro.
I mean, this is just cluing us in on how this is all going to go down.
Well, I think it's clearly showing that like Mike is trying his best because he realizes that his actual core alliance just got voted out last week. He's trying his best to really keep up this relationship with Hai that we saw established earlier in the episode, and he's trying to make sure to keep those touchstones, keep being like, hey, yeah, I'm with you. Let's
100%.
work
But
together.
I think it ties it all into my whole point that Mike was going to be the key figure here. I said it. I mean, we still have not. When was the last confessional we had from Lydia? I mean, there hasn't been one.
Yeah, we haven't seen much
since week one, which was a fuck around one, anyways. So Hai is a big power player here, and a true force behind him now is going to be Mike. So to me,
I think this is a pretty symbiotic relationship here, though. I
agree.
think both of them are benefiting by doing this because
Of course.
Mike is Mike is sort of sees greener pastures in Hai, right? And Hai didn't have Mike apparently before this, so it's like they both sort of win in this scenario. Mike is desperate to have people on his side because he himself can't vote, right? So he's very much like trying to make that happen, and Hai is also receptive to that because if everyone else had their way last tribal, his main ally would have gone home. Now he has Lydia, and he is open to talks with Mike, So it's like, oh, you know what? Actually, before we move on really quick, something that we missed from the post-tribal discussion was Chanel saying out loud that Daniel told her that Mike has an idol.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think is worth just mentioning briefly. Why would she do that? Why would Chanel say out loud that Mike has an idol?
well,
I think she's just trying to put him farther under the bus. No?
Yeah.
No, she's trying to put Daniel under the bus, which I agree with.
Yeah.
But why is Mike now caught in the crossfire here? Like, Mike is now like also
Well,
should be
Mike-
should
Mike-
be-
Yeah, she shouldn't have said
Well-
that in front of Hai and Lydia.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
There was a bomb that went on in this tribe. So
No, clearly,
Everybody's
but
trying
I'm
to-
just
trying
saying.
to find
I'm just
cover.
saying that Chanel doing that is hypocritical because she's actually throwing Mike under the bus. Are we not like all in agreement on this? Like,
no, I think it was really just putting forth Daniel as cover. That's what I said.
Yeah.
You had
what
to
do you
find
think?
cover. in
But
this
what do you
matter.
think Mike is thinking?
It
What do
didn't
you think-
matter. It didn't matter at this point. Chanel and/or Daniel is at the bottom of the barrel, and this further implants Daniel being at the bottom. Clearly, Hai and Lydia are two tight peas in a pod. So it's those three. So Chanel can't be the one.
I feel like I'm missing this. Are you guys not thinking that Chanel saying out loud to the other two that Mike has an idol is like a betrayal?
We agree that is not a great thing to say out loud, but I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference.
And that's not even the point.
It's clear that Mike is going to high here. You know what I mean?
I get it. I understand.
Everyone's going to high.
She's just trying to put Daniel as far under as possible. She didn't do it in a great way, but
if I'm Mike, I'm like, okay, well, Chanel and I actually did have something. Chanel didn't vote. Her whole argument to Daniel is, I didn't vote. And so Chanel, in Mike's eyes, can actually save some face. And instead, she throws Mike under the bus.
Yeah, it's just whether or not Mike is going to be able to, it reads it like that or not.
If I were Mike, I would read it that way. I don't know.
No, I know. I would too. I think that's the right way to read it because you just got
I still think you're missing the point. You got to bury Daniel while you still can.
Do it in private.
Yeah,
I think that's what
Toast is saying. You could say,
I understand that, but Daniel's already going off the rails.
I know, but it would have been a better move to do it in private. Definitely. I think Toast. I think it's potentially a reason why Mike went to high in this scenario instead of going back to Chanel, the one he already kind of had to deal with. But we'll see how it plays out. I agree. It's not ideal.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was worth mentioning.
I don't think it's going to be. It doesn't seem, at least from what we've seen in the edit so far, that it's going to be absolutely detrimental.
Yeah, it was just like something that was said and then it moved on. I get it. Yeah, no, I get it. But I'm just saying it is a subtle point that may come into play. That's it.
Well, hey, I'll tie it off here on Vati and the whole point with the Mike relationship with High. I think it's all clear that. One, I think High is the smartest and should be the most powerful player coming out of this tribe and having everything buttoned up. Even he exemplified everything we talked about with the fact that he said that he was able to sniff it out. He changed his vote in the voting booth. So, I think yes, it's a good relationship that Mike's going to have coming to him. But again, High's a smarter player in the duo there. So
I think potentially, but I really have been liking Mike's gameplay a lot.
I am too.
I think he's been I think Mike's been doing phenomenal. I think his adaptability here too is great to see him immediately go, okay, now that this has happened to me, what's my best move? And he goes to High and he does that. I think that's a great side for him. I do agree with you, Kale, that High I think is in a great position. I think he's a really smart player, but I think we can't count out Mike here as a player. I think he's been doing great. All right. Well, then let's kind of talk about this back half of the episode, essentially, just the Ika focused, last half here. We're talking about Ika post, reward challenge, Ika post immunity, and then Ika at the tribal there. Obviously, Swati went home tonight. Very sad to see her go. I think she was an exciting player.
She botched everything up.
Well, yeah, let's be clear. Swati lost. Tori didn't win in this Tori versus Swati kind of showdown, at least from my angle. But Kale, I'll toss it to you. What are your thoughts here?
I said this 2 weeks ago. Swati was approached by Drea for the All Girls Alliance. And as much as Toast didn't want to agree with me that everything on this tribe goes through Drea, which to me was further put out on the platter tonight, that Drea runs everything on this tribe. I mean, do you finally agree with me or no?
Well, Drea during Tribal was actually saying that her name has been said a lot.
I understand that, and for someone's name being said a lot, has she even gotten a vote?
No, very few people have gotten votes.
Okay, but she hasn't gotten a vote.
Kale,
the only person on this tribe that has gotten a vote that's not, that is still on this tribe is Tori. Who got one vote this episode.
I understand that, but I'm just saying for someone whose name has been thrown out there every single time, the buck stops with her because someone can throw it out, but it gets expunged right away. I think
you're simplifying an absolute cluster here. Like,
Kale, I think the other point here that I want to make is that sure, Drea's making a lot of decisions, but she is very visibly making a lot of decisions here. To me, I like Romeo way more than I like Drea right now on this tribe.
No, because Romeo...
He's flying totally under the radar. His name is never mentioned, and he's always on the right side of history so far.
He's the only person who hasn't had his name mentioned on this tribe.
Nobody's talking about him. Nobody is talking about him.
I understand that. I and he's in my soccer report. He had a great episode, but at the end of the day, Drea why I said this. Drea came and they could have ran with an all-women's alliance. They had the numbers after Zach was voted out. Swati tried to get cute with the entirety of the situation. This is where it's so dumb to target what is perceived a massive threat just because Drea had one more advantage of an extra vote. It was so dumb for her to move this way, especially because she didn't analyze the relationships that Drea had with Roxroy and with Romeo. Roxroy's still defaulting to Drea. I mean, that the whole clip that when Tori goes to Roxroy throws that away right away because he goes, "I'm defaulting back to Drea." That happened right away.
Well, let's be clear. Roxroy's doing that because Roxroy's all strength. He's let's get rid of the
but that
weakness.
ties back to that
I
first.
think Tori is part of the strength on this tribe.
I think so too.
I'm not
From a challenge.
I'm not
Kale,
disagreeing.
can I tell you something? You can believe me or not. I, for not 1 second watching this episode, thought Tori was going home. Not 1 second. I was completely steadfast. And I was
come
right.
on! Before the Swati
before
thing
they
came
really
out,
shifted focus to
you had
Swati, what did you think was going to happen?
You had to think. that
I
Tori
thought
was going
something
home.
was going to happen. Well, one thing that they were emphasizing.
Do you think
was
Drea was going home at one point?
No. One thing they were emphasizing was the
Roxroy.
Roxroy.
Yeah.
The Roxroy during the challenge was saying over, under. Like, hey, man, like, we
Dude,
get it.
he's
First you go over, then
Roxroy
you go
is
under.
a nightmare out here.
Yeah.
He's so fucking annoying.
We were saying, I was watching with some guys and we were like, at Tribal, he was keeping his mouth shut. And I was like, you know what? It's just because there's no knots that need to be tied. Like he doesn't have anything to say in this moment. But they were really showing Roxroy as potentially an option for being annoying. Romeo was saying, Roxroy is being annoying. But I think I agree with you, Kale, that it was actually that whole scene was more to show Romeo's gameplay, being like sort of like aware of the fact that he needs to be quiet in certain scenarios. Like, I think that was playing up Romeo. But just to, I guess, conclude, I didn't know what the option was going to be. I just knew it wasn't going to be Tori. And then something came up, and I was like, boom, that's it.
All right,
This is so full faith in Tori.
At all times. So let me put this out there. Out of clearly Swati was, the worst poorly played in this episode because she went home. Rank the gameplay shown tonight of the four other Ika, in your opinion. If you're putting Romeo at the top.
It's Romeo, Drea, Tori, Roxroy, Swati.
Okay.
I think I agree with that. I could switch Tori and Roxroy. I think look, Toast. Tori and Swati were doing basically the same thing. Swati just got caught doing it, and
ironically, Tori got caught doing it.
Yeah. They both got caught doing it.
No,
Well,
but this
somehow-
was.
But they didn't trust Tori in the first place. It was the betrayal of Swati that feels worse, so that they were like, we got to get rid of her now.
But they're like, we got to get rid of this bad energy. And this entire time I've been watching, I'm like, you guys are missing the mark. The bad energy is Tori. Let's be clear.
No, the bad energy is Roxroy.
Well, that's a
His
different bad
energy sucks.
But when
No,
they're
hold
talking
on a
about like
second.
this,
No.
intangible, like, ooh,
The
who's
chaos
off?
completely all started with Swati, though. That is
Yeah,
a pure fact. Romeo sniffed it out, and I do agree with you guys that he had a very strong episode. I just truly do believe that at the end of the day, when Drea makes this statement at Tribal that I'm the one trying to tie it all together, I don't know why she has to make a statement like that.
Shouldn't have said that.
Because she can't help
But
herself. That is
I
what she
understand-
says.
I
That's
understand
how she
that,
plays.
but I understand
She's the one that
she-
makes the fire. She's the one that lifts the thing. She's the one that does
But
the,
but it's all true. She's speaking from a place of
Yeah,
truth.
well, why is she bringing attention to it? Why would
Because
you?
again, she
why would
can't
you
help
do
herself,
that?
and that
She can't help
ultimately
herself.
might be her downfall in this game. We'll see. But to me, I don't know. When Swati did this 2 weeks ago and could have embraced the women's alliance with open arms, and I guarantee you, Drea was down, and Drea and Tori were tight at that point.
Drea really wanted to work
Drea
with Tori.
shared the extra vote with Tori, and Tori only betrayed that trust when she felt she was at the bottom this week. That was the only reason why she betrayed that trust, and because she thought all hell was breaking loose. Swati did not need to do this.
It actually ended up working out in her favor, I think.
No, it did.
It catalyzed the then figuring out that Swati was going around telling everyone, "Hey, you're my number one."
Yeah.
That was sort of the catalyst for that to get exposed, right? So I feel like Tori, in her head, I think her gameplay is stir up enough chaos so that I'm not the default going home. And then everyone else should be thinking to themselves at this point that if someone is coming up to you and saying that the vote is Tory, the vote is you. That's what the rest of the tribe should be thinking. But I don't think Rocksroy is going to think that way, or maybe not Drea either. But if someone comes up to you and say now it's Tory, I don't know if it's Tory. She's the perennial scapegoat. She's the
Yeah, she's the easy one to be like, hey, yeah, we're going Tory to make you feel comfortable. Sure.
Let's be clear. I know you think Tori is the martyr of all martyrs, and praise.
I ranked
Tori.
her 3 out of 5. Okay, I'm not like.
Okay, fine. Because I do agree that I still think Tori, as much as Tori says, I really wanted to play this, and she tries to put on her psychiatrist hat on, at every which way she can do it.
Yeah.
Psychology. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, I'm saying she's like 25. It takes psychiatrist is like med school, like all this. She's like, she right. I mean, I don't think.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying, Tori has had some faults in this game so far. I mean, she's overplayed.
Absolutely,
her.
I don't think she's been playing a perfect game.
Who are we talking about?
Tori.
Yes.
Okay.
Who was arguing that? Who was arguing that?
Nobody is arguing.
You've said from day one that Tori was never actually going to be voted out at any point
just because
in the season.
just because he never thought that she was going to go home doesn't mean he thinks she was playing a perfect game.
Correct.
I think what this episode
thank you.
is a really good lesson for, and what I'm really interested in talking with you guys about is, I think that this episode is a really good example of when you should stick to an alliance, when it's in your benefit to actually like see an alliance as good for you, or when it's good for you to play all sides. Because it's clear to me, at least, that Swati thought my best move going forward is to play all sides, keep all my options open, keep wheeling and dealing. When I think from the outside, I think we can maybe tell that women's alliance was probably her best 100%. Bet if she had just stuck with that thing.
She felt threatened from Drea's advantage way too early in the game.
Yeah. Well, I think
too early in the game.
What I'm wondering then is like, what signs can you look for as a player to say like, is this the alliance I should stick with, or should I be playing all sides? Like, what makes that decision? I don't know. I don't know exactly where Swati, decided for herself, but I don't know what the answer is.
I think that. Sorry, Kayla, do you want to go? I mean,
no, I was just gonna say it's funny because Swati, if you told me before the episode tonight that she was gonna go home, yes, I thought that she made a poor play when she went, when she immediately said, "Oh, let's target Drea" 2 weeks ago," but until Romeo connected the dots, she was like the darling of the tribe for a while, and then they said, "Wait a second, this is all just not making any sense." So she was actually doing a lot right. What seemed to be the case. Rocksroy still loved her, even down to the vote.
Yeah, but
Rocksroy, and she sussed everything out too. Like, let's give her credit for that. She was able to deduce that she basically completely articulated what we were being shown. Like, she said, like, without saying names, obviously, you're talking about Tori. There's 4 people that you're talking about, and it's Tori. She's like, and this person did something that's not going to change everyone's mind, but really they were the one that got exposed, and now it's on me. And it's like, that's exactly what we just saw. I mean, you're just giving a synopsis of this episode. So she really was with it as far as understanding.
I think
obviously she played the shot in the dark, right? Like,
yeah, I think she even saw that earlier in the episode. She had that conversation with Drea where she was like, "Hey, I don't really understand. Tori tried to go behind your back here, and for some reason is driving a wedge between us, like on the beach." She had that conversation with her, so she realized it pretty early.
Yeah, I want to go back to your question, Simi, your original question, right?
Yeah.
I think it definitely depends on the dynamics of the tribe in any given scenario, right? Like, it's easy to say, like, what signs do you look for? I think, like, basically like a blanket statement, like, what is the best strategy at any given point? There's no answer, right? So, and you probably agree with me. But I think in this case, I think that Swati was keen on the fact that Drea, if she aligned with Drea with Tori, that Drea would have so much power because she would be the one operating the girls, and she also had that day one alliance that Kale likes to bring up all the time. So in that scenario, I think that would fulfill Kale's everything runs through Drea prophecy. I think that Swati was like, that coupled with her advantages is too much. And then sort of like maybe related, but also could be unrelated. I think that Swati wanted to develop this relationship with Roxroy further, and I think that she may have she may have thought that Drea was an obstacle to that in some way, because I mean, we do see that there is some loyalty between the two of them. I don't really know the nature of that relationship other than what was disclosed to us on day one, right? Like that was like the day one alliance that they had. We haven't really seen too many conversations between Drea and Roxroy, but I think that Swati might have picked up on the fact that with Drea out of the picture, she would have Roxroy in her pocket and then be able to operate with Roxroy and Tori and probably have Romeo in the mix too. I think if she were able, because in a different scenario, if Swati were able to get out Drea, I think that the tribe might actually, in a way, run through her. I don't know. Because Roxroy and Romeo have a love-hate relationship. Nobody wants to work with Tori.
It was a dying venture. It was a dying venture. It was never going to work.
No, I understand that. But I'm just saying, what is her incentives in this scenario? She has a one-off relationship with Roxroy.
I agree with you.
She has a one-off relationship with Tori. She has a working relationship in a sense with Romeo. And I think that if she gets at Drea, then she actually might have the most solid interpersonal relationships individually with each person. And we saw that was her goal. I mean, it sucks that she used the same line over and over again, like a bad pickup line. You know what I mean? Like, it sucks that she got caught. But
yeah, hey, you're number one.
She
you're
wanted to
one.
make she wanted to make individual relationships. You know?
Yeah.
No, I agree with you, but she severely underestimated the relationships and the power that both Romeo and Drea were wielding on everybody else.
No,
That's
for
my
sure.
point.
I'm saying take out everyone else's motives, right? To answer Simi's question, if you're Swati, why did you immediately knee-jerk reaction say no to this woman's alliance? And I think it does revolve around Drea's power. She says that out loud, but what are the nuances of that power? The nuances are that the tribe would definitely go through her at that point with two separate alliances that she could play the middle of, right?
Yeah, but I think
Simi,
it's
does that satisfy you at all?
Well, he was also asking what was the perfect play by Swati, and the perfect play was that she also needed to read all these other relationships a lot better than she did. Actually, probably the biggest thing that she didn't read, Roxroy and Tori were never going to get along. So she, if you even evidence tonight, she said, "Oh, we got to rope in Roxroy. That's how we're going to accomplish this." They hate each other. Even evidenced by Roxroy at Tribal, going on, this whole thing about how shy Swati is. Which, by the way, I mean, she did not seem shy in the slightest. I mean, she's talking to everybody. So I don't even understand that one, to be honest. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think either she came out of her shell very quickly, like day two, or I think being the shy person is a pretty good persona to.
I agree with that.
Well.
Do you think that Survivor? Do you think that Survivor, a show where millions of people watch every day, is selecting for shy people? I mean, also,
shy people
are people who
applying.
are inherently shy applying to Survivor, right? Like, I mean, nobody who. So that's the main point, obviously. But nobody who brags about how they got into every single college they applied to and just says it to the cameras for millions of people to see is shy. I'm sorry. You're not shy.
No, I
you could be
completely
TV shy, though. Like, you could be shy person who wants to go on TV.
She obviously did something right to play on the heartstrings of Roxroy, although that comment probably was honestly just a indirect shot at Tori anyways at Tribal. That's probably what that was.
From Roxroy, yeah.
Yeah, so anyways, to me, Swati's biggest downfall is that she didn't read how she can maneuver all these other relationships. And yes, to your point, Sim, her best option was to go with the all-girls because Drea was down. She showed her cards when she told you about the extra vote. She was the only one she told about the extra vote, Swati and Tori. So it's just disappointing that they didn't run with that because that could have been big. Because everybody was down to get Roxroy out anyways.
It sounds like to me, Kale, that your kind of view on the should you play all sides or should you go for an alliance kind of depends on everybody else's relationships. If everybody's relationships are close enough that they're going to actually talk about this stuff, then you should stick with a strong alliance when you find one. But if everybody else is disjointed and doesn't trust each other, and you read that, then you can play every side, because then there's much less chance of you getting outed like Swati did in this episode.
And here's the thing. One of the big takeaways from looking at this season, and I guess you can maybe apply it to last season, but you can't really, because there was one tribe that just never went to tribal. So if you in this tribe setting where there's no swapping going on, which I still do like, you got to try and fortify a threesome. You have to fortify a threesome. On Taku, it's Lindsay, Omar, and Jonathan. Marianne, if they weren't to go to, I don't think they're going to go again, obviously, here, because they're just dominating beyond belief. But Marianne, unless something changes through time and whatnot, she's going to be the one on the outs. To me, still, I guess it's kind of dissolved into just Drea and Romeo, but Roxroy was a part of it, right? And Roxroy still defended Drea in a conversation with Tori, defaulting back to that threesome alliance. So if you can formalize a threesome as quickly as you can in these 6-people alliance, I mean, you're looking really good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's be clear though. Like, this is a bad pun analogy, but like Roxroy is literally a rock rolling down the hill. Like, this guy is never changing his mind. He made one alliance at the beginning of the thing, and he's like, even today when they talked about the vote, and they were like, we're gonna vote, Swati instead. He's like, no, not doing it. I'm still voting Tori, even though he knows, like, he's just gonna be one vote. So he's kind of a linear character for me there, but yeah, no, I think. I agree with you, Kale, that if she should have just stuck with the all women's alliance, and that would have done really well for them, having that 3. I think the problem is I agree, making a 3 is great, would be awesome. But if you're you're auto going to be the bottom, which I'm not saying that Swati was going to be, but consider a scenario where you're making a 3 alliance. If you know you're going to be at the bottom of that 3 alliance, it might actually be more worth it for you to have a 2-2-2 in your tribe rather than a 3-3 or a 3-2. Because if you're in the bottom 3, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, if you get to your 3 and then you go to tribal, you're out. That's it.
What, final tribal are you talking about?
No. Like if you get down to 3 people in your tribe.
No, I understand
screwed.
that. What you also have to factor in is strength, and that's what Taku has done now. They've whittled down, but they've kind of had their core of what the pure strength was on that tribe. So you still have to factor in strength in making your 3 if you're not going to have these tribe swaps and everything. I'm with you on that, but
I don't know.
Once you get through with your 3 and you make it to the merge, and all everything's on the table at that point, then you're readjusting, and you could be the one that connects another alliance from the other tribe, and then you're on the top of it all.
Yeah, but that requires you making it to the merge with 3.
But that's my point.
This is too simplified, I think, honestly, because I think that there's layers here. Like, Swati saw, I mean, it seemed like a knee-jerk reaction to say, oh no, let's get Drea out, right when Drea proposes the all-girls alliance. But I feel like, to an extent, she must have thought to herself that was
Drea left the beach. Drea left the beach, and Swati said right away, no.
But I think that I doubt that she missed that cue. Like, I feel like she probably was like, okay, this is a 3. But I feel like she wanted something more optimal for her. Like
it's too
Simi,
early
you're saying
in the game
like
to do
bottom
that.
3. I agree. I'll say it's too early in the game to do it too. But I think that she wanted to take it that one step further, especially because she does have that relationship with Roxroy. So there's a 50-50 chance that if we go to tribal with this 3 alliance, that I'm going to lose probably my best ally in this game, right? Because there's only 2 guys that can get voted for. Mm-hmm. And people are more likely to vote for Roxroy than they are for Romeo at this point.
Agreed.
I just didn't think, I don't think it was in her best interest to just, I don't know. It's complicated.
But losing Roxroy isn't the end of the world. Like, obviously she doesn't want to if she's in that scenario.
Yes,
but being in that
agree.
3 is still really great.
I do just want to, commend Kale for that one point about the counting the heads. It's not just 3. There's the Roxroy Tori, they're never gonna be able to be two of a three.
Yeah.
Like I fully get that, and I think that that's a good point because it's easy to count heads 1, 2, 3. They're not voting together. There's nothing you could do. You could be really great friends with both of them individually, but they're not gonna go. They're not gonna go together.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I think it's clear that Swati kind of made her $1 million mistake in this episode, and she got voted off for it. But let's hop over to our stock report. Let's talk about who we thought did well this episode. I know we didn't see a ton of every tribe. It was mostly Ika. But Kale, what's your stock report this week?
Yeah, we talked about all these people. I think Romeo listed at the top of my report. I mean, he had a great episode. He's the one that sniffed out Swati going in every which direction, which really led to her downfall. I still think Drea had a good episode. I didn't like her comment at Tribal was unnecessary. And again, I know this is the point you bring up about her, that she just doesn't give a fuck. And yeah, that might bury her at the end of the day. But she still is wielding some power and having connections somehow that's honestly might not even be shown that to the great extent that it even exists at. And then in terms of
But couldn't you just argue the opposite too?
What do you mean?
That like she has negative relationships that are not being shown as much? Like, you know what I mean?
But how is that she has not received a vote for as much? Her name's been brought up a billion times and she's not received a vote. I get nobody else has received a vote, but her name's been brought up a ton. Almost what I feel for the cameras as just as much as Tori has.
But Roxroy's name has been brought up a bunch too, and he hasn't had any votes, and he sucks. So what are we arguing here?
I understand that, but again, my biggest point to exemplify all of this is that right away, and I guess it might just point to the whole thing that Tori and Roxroy just hate each other, but he right away defaulted to Drea. He didn't even give it 2 seconds, and he didn't even care. He goes, Drea, don't look at me bad that I've told you this. I thought he would be accusatory at Drea, but he goes, please, Drea, don't look at me poorly for me telling you this. That's what he said.
Okay, but I just think it's a little ridiculous to not only give Drea credit for the things that you're seeing, but then also to say that everything that we're not seeing is also really positive too. That's
I think it is for Romeo and Drea. It can't be for Roxroy.
I think.
What are you talking about? You're saying that you're saying that Drea is so positive in your view right now, and there's also behind the scenes everything else is positive too, and they're not showing it to us.
Someone has to be the bona fide leader. You're saying it's fully Romeo?
Here's my thing though, Kale, is Drea is making publicly making a lot of these decisions, but every one of her decisions that she's made in this episode was from Romeo. Like, to me, it seems like Romeo's making decisions, and then because dude, he doesn't want to be the public face of making these decisions. It's the classic I want to be leading the tribe without looking like I'm leading my alliance or whatever. Like, to me, that's what Romeo's doing right now. He's doing a great job of it, in my view. He is leading from the background, so he doesn't look as big of a target. I think he's doing great.
I agree. He had a good episode, but here's my point. If Swati just didn't make this mistake, this would be an all-women's alliance at this point, which would be led by Drea too. But Drea's still in great position on this other side of things now too.
I think if Swati didn't make this mistake, Tori was going home, and then the women's alliance wasn't going to happen.
That's what I'm saying. No, I'm talking not the mistake of today. I'm talking about Swati making the mistake. Did you say she's never going home?
Never going home.
Well, Kale, you said earlier that if Swati didn't make this mistake, Tori was the one you thought was going home. Which means the women's alliance was out regardless.
No. I said Swati made this mistake 2 weeks ago when she didn't join in on the women's alliance.
I'm gonna take this a 10,000-foot view, take it even a step farther back. I don't think that anyone on Ika should be on the stock report going up. I think that this is the coldest take that we've had so far. But the winner of this season is not on Ika.
Well,
the winner.
I think Romeo is a perfectly fine person to have on your stock report this week as a
well,
value
because
gainer.
There's less people to look at, I guess, because they had a lot of the traction. We had.
Do you not think he played well this episode?
What is Romeo going to do when they make the merge? I mean, their tribe is in complete disarray.
I want to dive into this at the end. I want give me some forecasts of these Ika players.
What do you guys think? Do you not agree that the winner of the season is not on Ika?
No,
I think it's less likely. But that doesn't mean somebody can't have played well this
I don't
week.
think you could rule out the entirety
Kale-
of the tribe.
So, Kale, you're saying Drea is the person.
Drea and Romeo both have great chances still.
The winner's not on Ika.
If Ika goes back to tribal next week, we already talked about how it's going to be
The
Rocksroy
way
versus
that they're-
Tori, so that it's
the
just
way-
going to be who they side with.
The way that they're portrayed is so scattershot and so non-cohesive. It's the exact opposite of Taku. I'm just saying, and Taku is getting very positive. Like, the way that we're viewing Taku is very positive. The way that
Yes.
we're being sort of coerced or suggested to think about Ika is very negative. The winner is not coming from Ika.
Toast.
I think it's been it's been
that's-
very neutral on Romeo. So if that's going to be your point,
Toast.
Simi, I think it's been very neutral.
No, what I want to be clear
He is-
about Toast
he is guilty by association.
Toast. Listen to
By
me.
being on Ika.
Just because somebody from Ika isn't likely to win this season doesn't mean they can't have played a good week this week. What are you talking about?
No,
That's what that's what we're talking about. We said Romeo played a good
for sure.
week this week.
I do
prefaced
like
with
this
saying a
forecasting into the
10,000
future,
foot
though.
view.
Yeah, I
was
like this
saying- I
forecasting.
said 10,000 foot view.
Yeah.
I think it's almost a waste of time because I do not think that
No,
Ika,
that's not a fair comment. That's not a fair comment.
I listen. I'm being hyperbolic. Clearly, I understand that for this episode, you can say that Romeo did well. Okay,
No,
I
I'm
get
not.
that.
I'm past.
But I'm just
past
saying
that
that 10,000 foot view, looking at this, I do not think that Ika is coming to the table with the right, machinery, the right arsenal, the right group of people, and we're
All right.
being constantly shown that they are not housing the winner.
All right,
that
hold
team.
on.
The winner's
Before
not
you
wearing
guys-
blue.
Before you guys get into your stock report, let's just look at the numbers. What are we at here? 4, 4, 5? Is that where we're at? Mm-hmm. So what are we? Most likely 2 weeks away from the merge. 2 more boots before the merge. Maybe 3.
one.
Maybe 1. No, it's not
Yeah,
gonna be
12.
What was the
No, it's not.
what
That
did they
was
merge at last
That was
season?
last year. That was
No, it
last
wasn't
season.
12.
Yes, it was. It was 6-6. There were 2
No,
tribes of
6,
5.
6.
There was 2 tribes of
4,
5.
2.
Erica and
Yeah,
Nasir
you're right.
were in
6,
the
4,
middle.
2.
It was 6-6.
4, 2.
But then one
All
of
right,
them,
yeah, so,
but then
okay,
one
yeah.
of them go home like on the merge because they did the whole flip flop
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So
wasn't the merge yet.
it's technically 11 when they were.
Yeah.
It was BS.
So
but
Sydney
yeah.
didn't make
Sydney
the merge.
did not
in your
make the
eyes?
merge,
Sydney
yeah.
made the merge.
No,
She had a
didn't make
buff
the-
on. She had to take it off. That was so
Yeah, she had to
tragic.
give it
I mean,
back.
She made the Sydney. You made the merge.
So hold on. Look at the numbers. Actually, they did say they're going to do the hourglass. So are they not going to do
Did they say
this?
they're going to do the hourglass?
Yeah, it was shown in the preview of we're bringing everything back, which sucks. It does.
Hate that.
But listen. Let's look at the numbers. At least 3 people are going to make it to that 12 person from Ika, right? I mean, that's where we're
Yeah.
at now. So at
Yeah.
least 3 people are going to make it to 12 people. Sorry if that makes no
No, I
sense.
get it.
At least 3 people are going to make it to 12 people.
Yeah, exactly. So
I pray it's not Rocksroy. These
But
gotta
that's
go.
my point, is that even if Ika goes to tribal next week, I don't know in what world you don't think this is Tori versus Rocksroy Central.
Yeah, and it's Rocksroy.
No, I actually agree with you. Tori will escape again. She will escape again.
By the skin of her
might,
teeth.
And she might be a perfect number for someone to latch onto at the merge. But
Exactly why
I-
Ika is downfall. It's
no,
a downfall.
but see, that's
Because I
but
can't
there's-
believe that
there's
you're saying that
something
Tori isn't
about
gonna
the
win.
way- There's something about the way that Drea and Romeo are navigating relationships that I think is, it's good gameplay. I just really do believe that.
Yeah, but I think Omar's doing the same thing, and I think he's doing it better. So anything
I'm
in a better
not in
position.
disagreement. That
Are you
Agreed.
guys-
Agreed.
if you-
Toast,
if
what's
you-
your stock report? Give us your stock report.
I mean, I guess I mean, I don't really need to belabor the point. I kind of just explained. Like, I think that the people.
you have nobody.
No, I mean, I think Jonathan
Tori?
looked good. No, not Tori. No, Jonathan obviously looked good. I'm being fed Taku. I'm just being fed Taku. They're
Tacos?
positive. No,
I wish.
no. It's just the way that if you just take away everything and just what is your feeling, when I see Ika, I'm anxious. I'm like, what is going on with this tribe? When I see Taku, I'm like, oh my god, it's so harmonious. We know if we have
Dominating.
to
Well,
They're
Marianne-
dominating
Marianne's gotta
challenges.
go, though.
They're
I
eating,
know, yeah,
we
that's
didn't
what
even
I'm
talk
saying.
about this. The amount of fish they got was unruly.
Absurd amount of fish.
go to. I wonder
was-
if the rest of the tribe got any of it.
That's
'cause
so much
Jonathan
fat and
deserves it
protein for
all,
them.
honestly.
Jonathan gets
Jonathan-
two of them.
The amount of fish they were delivered was unbelievable.
All right. Well,
regardless-
toast. So
So just it's the same people that I think we've been seeing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think another person that we haven't mentioned, we did earlier, but I think Mike looks good this episode.
Mm-hmm.
He's able to convey to us that he's able to adapt. His number one ally got voted off, and he is hugging high on the dock. Like he's ready to play. Like something that could have sunk somebody else's game very early in the game. He did not allow that to happen, right? I mean, they haven't been to tribal yet, but he did really
but that
well.
was also a product of Daniel building about a 60-foot grave for himself.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I just had to get that off my chest that I just don't feel good about Ika as a tribe. I understand that Romeo did well this episode. I am not denying that. I just think that I'm giving up on them as a tribe. I am. I'm giving up.
I think you're
can't-
cutting bait way too early. I think you're cutting bait way too early.
I can't believe
I'm
you're
out.
giving up on your favorite player, Tori. But
No, I
for
want her
my
to cause chaos. I'm ready for her to be an integral part of the season. I'm just saying that the winner is not coming from this tribe.
yeah, I hear you. My stock report for the week. I agree with both of most of your points. I really liked Romeo this week. I thought he played great. I really liked Mike. Totally agree with what you're saying there, Toast. I think his adaptability is phenomenal. I am a little worried about him because he still can't vote, things like that. But I think those are great. I think Tori played a bad week again. I think Roxroy continues to play a bad week.
What the? I don't understand. How can Tori have played a bad
Just
week?
because she didn't get voted off didn't mean she didn't play. Like she still was like.
Yeah,
all
but this
saying
could
she
be
played great. I'm not saying she played great,
This
but
could
I
be a
don't think she
product
played
of
poorly.
her poor play from 3 weeks ago. To be honest with you, so
No,
That's what I'm
agreed.
saying.
It's continuing. I don't think she got herself any out of the hole she
Yeah,
already does.
She would be at Ponderosa if she didn't. But regardless,
Well, according to you, she was never going home. So
yeah,
she was never going home. But what I'm saying though,
and
Simi,
will
is that
never go home.
she didn't go down. She at least stayed neutral for you. She didn't go down.
I think that's a valid point. I think
she stayed
I think
neutral.
that's a valid point.
Sure, she stayed neutral.
I think that's a valid point, but she's really not maneuvering herself into any.
I
great
don't think
position
it's
with Anita.
impossible though that on the Roxroy versus Tori, that Tori goes home. I don't think that's
do
impossible.
you want to bet? I'll bet right now.
Well, because from my side,
Bet,
I'd rather
bet a buff. Bet the merge buff. Someone has to buy the other person a merge buff.
Fine, I will bet the merge buff. Well, no, but that's the thing is, I don't think that it's necessarily like she's more likely. I just don't think it's a zero chance like Toast
If
thinks.
Ika goes to tribal next week, you guys bet the merge buff.
Fine.
down.
I'll make the bet because it's fun. 100%. But the reason I'm arguing this because is if I'm
I thought you
Romeo.
want Roxroy to go home.
Oh, I do. He's annoying. But if I'm a player on his tribe, I want to keep him around.
Yeah, you want to keep Roxroy. That's a great point.
He's such a goat. Like
No, well,
oh my God.
that talks to your Swati point that you mentioned earlier. That Drea was an impediment for Swati to continue to keep Roxroy around. Is that you who said that earlier, Toast?
I don't know. I might have lost you there. Say it again.
I said it was it not your point that said Drea was an impediment for Swati
Yes.
to keep
Yes.
Roxroy around?
Yes.
Simi
Yes,
makes
sir.
a great point. Roxroy is the perfect person to continue to drag along.
If I can get him in my final three, I'm ecstatic.
100%,
Which is
I mean,
why.
that's
which is
probably
why.
Romeo's plan.
But that's what I
Drea's
mean is
plan.
I'd much rather get and then Roxroy is a vote and then that's already 2 for Tori. It's like what are we doing? So regardless, bet on. Happy to
Yeah.
shake on it.
Yeah. Before, I don't know if you're moving
Yeah.
on, I just wanted to say, I want to just talk really briefly about the shot in the dark, just because I keep thinking about it.
It
and I
happens.
just want
It's happening every week.
We've had great tribals, outcomes. I don't know why it's being played at such high frequency. Because originally I'm thinking to myself, okay, in this case, Swati saw Zach use it, right? So it could be that one person opens the floodgates and then other people use it. But we've seen it on other tribes too. So I'm like, I mentioned it earlier in a different podcast, but like, do you think that it was presented to them somehow more appetizing? Like, did they?
Well, I think
did
there's
they
two
say
options.
it in a way that was like? I mean, still, it's 1 out of 6. There's no getting around that. But why is it being played at such frequency?
Well, there's only 2 options, right? Either it was presented to them differently, like it's being pushed differently,
Correct. And
it just so happens that this season people are a lot more certain about being on the bottom than they were last season.
Well,
Yeah.
no, and I think you bring up the great point that
Right?
Swati was not afraid to do it. Zach went out doing it. Swati saw that and felt it that way.
Yeah, but Mariah didn't get to see either of these things.
No,
Obviously,
I understand that,
and still
but
made that same decision.
She was bona fide on the bottom, bona fide with 4 versus 1. Zach felt like he was 5 versus 1, and again, this ties into the fact that there's a bona fide 3 that was running the show on both those two tribes. We didn't see it, unfold on Vati because everything was scatterbrained.
Yeah, so the
So-
only one, the one blind side that we've seen happen, accurately, or at least, I mean, it didn't work, right? But like people were tricked into what the vote was going to be, right?
Exactly.
On
Yeah.
Vati.
It was
wasn't
clear
played
cut.
then,
These other 3 votes have been clear cut.
Yeah. I mean,
I-
that's the thing is I'd have to look back at the last season's votes and stuff, but it seems like the ones that it's being played at, it's a no-brainer if you think you might be towards the bottom because your vote wouldn't make a difference either way. Either they're against you or they aren't against you, and if they aren't against you, you not voting is not going to change the outcome. So why
that's
wouldn't
a
you
good
play
point.
it?
That's a good point too. Where if I don't want to reiterate exactly what you just said, but yeah, that is a good point. But I don't know. I think that it's happened enough times now that there might be something more there. Like I know that the numbers lend themselves this way based on how the tribes have shaken out, but similar things were going on in the tribes that we saw last year too. Or last season, I should say.
Sure, but we're
so-
never going to know. Like, there's no way for
yo,
us to figure out if they were like, hey, make
Put
sure
your
you
lab
play your shot in the
glasses on,
dark.
Dr. Toasty.
I don't
Put your
know.
lab wait, hold on. Put your lab glasses on. I mean, we're looking at a small sample size last season. You're entering a variable into a small sample size. You enter the same variable into a completely different group of people, and they're open to doing it more than it was last season.
No, I get
Come
that
on,
too.
doctor.
I get
on.
that too, but I get that too.
Absolute condescension coming off of
Yeah,
Carol right
I
now.
know, right? I understand that point. I just think that you definitely could be right like that because also the way that we're viewing these advantages are also like a small sample size problem where everything in 41 didn't really work and now things are sort of starting to work.
No
like
one's gotten
that
a
could
shot
just
in the
be
dark, though.
Yeah, but more sample size, right? I guess you could be right, but I don't know. I just wanted to see what you guys thought. If maybe they were like, last season like it's only a 1 in 6, and then this season like it's a 1 in 6. Like if they just said it
I think it's
differently-
certainly possible, but there's no way for us to ever know.
I don't know.
Hey,
Did you guys think that Swati was gonna say you're my number 1 to Jeff?
On the way out the door.
Like she was nodding her head, and then Jeff was like, "Swati, you're nodding your head too," and she would be like, "Jeff, it's funny you say that
she made a bold
because you're my number
bold
1."
comment in her exit, claiming she was the next Boston Rob. So again,
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit of a testament to that. I don't think this girl was at
Not
any
shy.
point ever shy.
Not shy.
No, not shy.
But hey, that's why I think she sunk her ship unnecessarily because I actually think she was playing a good game, and she didn't need to go after, rock the boat. It wasn't necessary.
I get it.
Well, I think it was an exciting episode. I think it's hard to follow up last week's,
I
obviously,
agree.
but I think it was a great
No,
episode.
but-
I think there was a lot of play. What's
No,
up,
I just
Kel?
want to say I still think the casting it's really really nice. I mean, again, they've done really
We
well.
know
for
what you
last-
think about the casting, Cal.
No,
We
no,
know.
I'm just saying it's been a really strong season to start. I mean, I think better than last
Yeah.
season so far, right?
Definitely. Yeah,
Yeah, agreed.
I agree.
So I mean, if they keep up this momentum, are you guys not thinking top 10 all time?
Top
be.
10
Too
all
early to
time.
say.
I mean, I don't know if that's a hot take, but
I think it's too.
No,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think it's
think
too early to make a judgment
It's too early
on
to
that.
tell, but yeah. Oh, you know what I could say probably, Kale, is that it definitely is a top 10 all-time pre-merge. I'll give you
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If they keep the momentum and the post merge, again, the one point that I just want to make finally here is there was no idols played correctly at all.
Tenth
There was no
final
idols
point.
played. There was no
Yeah.
idols played last season that saved anybody. Correct?
Yeah.
And now there's no idols in this because every idol is dependent on this. I still don't love that they have to do this. The phrase is at the immunity challenge. I'm assuming Survivor took this stance that they don't want idols to be the focal points of every single, dramatic ending to an episode, that it comes down to an idol being played or not being played, or now an idol nullifier. They wanted to strip it back and purify it, which I do like. But now if no idols are ever played, it's a little annoying.
I think there's a sweet spot in there. There's a,
Yes, there is.
If two idols get played throughout the season, those are both really exciting episodes. Like that to me is like a good number of idols to play, and I think they're kind of setting it up to be like that a little bit. So I don't know, we'll see. I'm excited to see where this season keeps going. Obviously, we're all really excited about this season. I'm excited where next episode is. I want to thank everybody for listening again. Really appreciate it. If on YouTube, please like, subscribe. If you're on Apple Podcasts, rate and review. It really helps
that
the
like
show
button.
out. Yeah, really appreciate it. And see you boys next week.
See ya.
Peace.